Hello, Nidhi. Welcome to
Hi,
the
Kapil.
hi. Welcome to the first real episode of Unscript. And before we begin and move on to you, I just wanted to introduce the idea of Unscript. So, Unscript is my compassion project. It's my way of giving forward, my way of creating a contribution to the world using my core skills, which I believe are conversation and connection, and yeah, so that's I wanted to make sure that I create a contribution in the world, and through a series of stories published weekly, told through conversational interviews like you will experience one today, of women like you who have broken shackles of stereotypes and inspire many like me. Okay, so so that's the hope, to inspire women to embrace their authentic self, follow their joy by owning their dreams and desires, and live a fulfilling life. On that note, I must I have to say I'm extremely privileged to have you as my first guest. You have always inspired the likes of us to be our most authentic and creative self. In your own words, Nidhi, you are an artist, a teacher, and an earth lover. But to many of us, while it may not have been your agenda, you are an epitome of courage, living with authenticity and creativity. You're a role model to so many of us to challenge stereotypes and embrace us. And and I can't get over the fact that this is really, really huge for me, right? And yeah, over to you. So let's begin. And I want to begin by asking you this question. Um, Tell us a little bit about your journey so far, and what was your life script when you started out, and where are you now?
So first of all, I want to thank you, Kakali, for thinking of me as your first person that you're going to do this interview with. I'm so grateful because I've always admired you. You've been an inspiration to me for so many years. So thank you so much. I wanted to say that first.
Thank you.
And congratulations on thinking up this beautiful project. I hope it goes really well and you get to meet a lot of inspiring women and it helps. We get to help girls and boys and everybody who is
Yeah,
looking, to live
yeah.
a better life. So, for your question about where I am right now, I would say right now I am right here, right now in this moment. At this point, I'm happy and like satisfied to say that I am an artist and a woman who is learning constantly, a human being who is getting inspired from nature, from the people around me, the right people that I've learned to choose wisely now as I've gotten older. And from learning from my children of how to be a better parent, a more bearable parent. Um,
I
you
don't
know,
believe that, but yeah.
yeah, so I'd say that's where I am on this journey. I'm in constant flow, I feel, with so many things right now. Things change right now. I do feel a certain sense of, pure joy. Like a friend told me recently, she said, everyone gets their turn, everyone gets their chance at experiencing pure joy because life change. It's constant, right? It's constantly changing, and I feel at this point in my life I'm going through that experience of pure joy through my work, through my relationships,
Mhm.
through the boundaries I've made for myself. So yeah, that's where I am right now. And I would say, did you say you said where did you
Yeah.
start?
Was it always like this,
No.
or
So,
did it
yeah.
change?
No, so I would say I wanted to be all these things as we all do,
Hmm.
but I feel like life takes every person, every human being through different experiences, right? And some people just get it right the first time, or they just like they get it right through life. But with me, it's been like a constant, I wouldn't say battle, but a constant thing of learning where I didn't get things right. I didn't become that artist that I wanted to be, or I wasn't able to be the friend that I wanted to be when I started out. But I had the same intentions as I have
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
And I would call myself like a late bloomer in a way. And I'm happy to say that as well, because I didn't get everything right. And but all my successes and failures have really taught me immense lessons,
Hmm.
so yeah, that's where I am right now. So yeah.
Late bloomer, right? And then I
Yes.
remember, I mean, in that context, I remember you. I think your 40th birthday post is something that I remember, and you acknowledging that, okay, it took me so many years, but here I am now,
Yes.
and I'm grateful to be here. Yes,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
yeah, age.
Yeah,
I
so I feel, yeah, my gratitude comes in so many ways, because just through just wanting to be an artist, my journey as an artist itself,
hmm,
apart from everything else, like right now, that's the biggest thing for me. So I will keep saying artist, artist, because I'm confident enough to say that I am an
hmm,
artist,
hmm,
and how I had to fight so many. Not exactly stereotypes, but like conditioned thinking of my
hmm,
family, where
hmm,
my father's side of the family was like this academic background. All of them were like, doctors and engineers and that kind of thing. And then my mother's side were all these like business people who ran businesses and made lots of money. And then they looked at me and it was like, oh, she wants to be an artist, she's going to be a hippie, like.
yeah.
And then for me to constantly not try to be the hippie, but try to be an artist, so I went through all that. But I really feel like now at this point, uh, doing pure art has is paying my bills.
Hmm.
I'm supporting my children through it. I'm the provider for my family, and as you know, I have the farm with all those
Yes,
animals and
yes.
people who live there, and I'm paying salaries for like 8 people, and I'm taking care of myself and my family by doing art.
Hmm.
And I feel like I just at some point something clicked for me, and I said, I'm doing this. I stuck with it, and just work. I think it's a lot of hard work also, and just saying, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to give up,
Hmm.
and just keep trying. So
I
yeah.
I could have never guessed that you do not have a family background of a creative artist environment. I
Yeah.
could have never guessed until I mean, you told just now. And I
Yeah.
wonder, yeah, you mentioned you were determined to make this happen, but was there a source of motivation that helped you pull through all these challenges?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I think my like 39 or 40 years old was when I used to do graphic design.
Hmm.
I worked as a graphic designer for many years when I was with my ex-partner, when I was married, and I worked with a graphic design with ad agencies and all those things. And at some point, I said, I can't sit on this computer anymore. That is not my thing. And I want to start doing pure art. I want to start painting. And my ex-partner would say, oh, you're just lazy to sit and work hard in front of the computer. And that would guilt, I would feel that guilt.
Hmm.
But then I realized that I have so much more to give than just churning out work.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
it wasn't for me basically. I
Hmm.
had I had so much other stuff to give. So what was I saying?
Yeah,
So yeah,
motivation.
so you were saying my motivation, yeah. So I
Yeah.
feel like my motivation was after my separation, after 25 years of being with one person,
Hmm.
and my separation kind of woke me up to this thing that um, I need to take care of myself because I was not completely financially independent. So
Hmm.
money was my motivation, making a living.
Hmm.
I have to be honest about that. My children are my motivation, even though in all these descriptions, where they say describe yourself in 3 words, I
Hmm.
don't say artist, mom, this, because I just feel like somehow in our society, if you're a mother, then you're elevated to
Yeah.
some status.
Yes. Yes.
But the honest truth is, my children are my motivation. I mean, children in general, if
Hmm.
you watch them and look at them, and their um, uh, just their compassion for anything, and their zest for life inspiring. So I feel like that is my biggest motivation. Nature is my motivation. Every time I've gone through trouble and really hard times, I'll find time to go sit under a tree and just watch how nature and the natural process of death and
Hmm.
rebirth is such
Hmm.
a huge thing. And
Hmm.
I feel like, that has been my
So yeah, inspired by nature, and I think you said your children kind of give you purpose to keep moving and on a
yes,
determination to make more out of your artist dreams. On
yes,
this journey, though, did you have to? And I know that I know your life in a little bit, that you
yes,
went through transformation. Some I guess. I would series
yes.
of transformation maybe, and some major ones. And so I guess my question is, in your journey, did you have to fight against some stereotypes that you were casted in to be yourself? And where were those moments, and what did you do about them?
Yeah. So as you know, I mean, I've spoken about this a lot. I was married for 15 years and I was with my partner for 25 years. We were high school sweethearts. And we stayed together for so many years. Through my whole relationship, I always questioned equal partnerships.
Mm,
I always questioned independence. I questioned sexuality. I always
mm,
felt like sexuality is fluid. I always thought these things. But when I did talk about it, somehow I had just slotted myself into this mold of this very nice girl, who's a nice, who's a good girlfriend, who's a good wife, who's a good daughter, a good mother. And the way we look at ourselves as good mother, or good wife, or good daughter could be so skewed when the way society looks at it.
yeah.
And I always questioned it. And I feel like I've been fighting stereotypes my whole life without even knowing it.
Mm,
But it was seen as rebellion.
mm,
I would get tattoos. I did drugs. I questioned so many things, and um, it started with my family, where they said, "No, you're an artist. You're not going to make money." So it was always and my need to be accepted and loved in the middle of all this really. That's why it took me so long to
yeah.
realize, because I'm like
Yeah.
such a big people pleaser.
Mm, mm,
Yes, so fighting stereotypes was a big thing, because I was married for 25 for with my ex-partner for 25 years, and then when I wanted to do this certain project, Breathing Canvas, which is such
mm,
a defining moment in my life, where I came
mm,
up with this idea, and I feel like that was something where I said I want to express myself through my work in some way. And this whole concept of painting on the human body, because I was only doing canvas and paper and everything. uh, when I talked about it to people, it was like, why are you doing this? Like, what is this?
mm,
Like, what are you
mm,
doing this for? Is it like
mm,
is it a gimmick? Or is it so self-indulgent? All those things. And through that process, when I did the project, I just went ahead. I was like, I'm going to do this. Whatever comes from it, I don't know. I'm going to paint on the human body. I'm going to pick women,
mm,
and I'm going to archive this. And so that I faced resistance for that as well, but I went ahead and did it. And that's when I met my partner, present partner, Bhavna, who is a
mm,
woman. That was like, oh my God, what is happening to her? She's going through midlife crisis.
mm,
And she's going through this phase where she's going crazy. And but what happened for me was a shift, because when I met this woman who's so fiercely independent and so fiercely honest and content with herself, I started looking at her and thinking, my God, like, I'd like to be like this. So that friendship just became more and more. And then I started telling a few friends, there's this girl, I really like her. I don't know what's going on. And I spoke to my parents and stuff, and God bless them. They were really supportive at that point, where I said, you know what, I think I want to make a change. I think my life needs a shift, which
mhm,
was huge, right? Because I had just adopted my daughter 8 months before all this happened.
mm,
And so I received so much criticism for that, saying, you've just brought in this child into your family. And I have a biological son, Marok, and then Midori, who came home. And I'm looking at her and thinking, I need to show her that women are capable of a
mhm,
lot more. and we're capable of making choices and not just settling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it was a very disturbing period for her and everything, now I'm so glad I made those changes. I
Hmm.
got my divorce, I separated, I got out of that thing that was holding me back in. I just basically just took my power back, you know, and like took away power from everybody else that I wanted to satisfy. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, like if from pleasing people
yes,
around you, you were just so as you were mentioning, there was so much happening in your life around that time, right? Yet you
yes,
found the conviction from within because there was only one person you were pleasing, and that's you. uh,
yes,
uh, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what kind of stood out to me. You were so aligned, so it
it
really,
was, yeah.
yeah, it didn't seem
Was
like
so
anything.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was ready. I was so aligned and so kind of clear about
Hmm.
making the change for myself. It wasn't about meeting Bhavna or
Yeah.
saying now I'm gay or it was none of that stuff. Like
Yeah.
when people ask me, I don't slot myself and say, oh, now I'm a lesbian or none of those things, you know.
Hmm.
It was that person. She was like a catalyst. And things became so clear for me that I was ready to lose my family and friends
Hmm.
and everything. I was like,
Hmm.
it's okay if
Hmm.
nobody gets it at this point, they will, because
Mhm.
I'm going to be around, I'm going to be here, I'm going to love them, and
Hmm.
they will get it. So you can't force everybody to go through the same transformation you're going through, right? Like
Mhm.
you're going through something doesn't mean everybody else
Hmm.
understands.
Hmm.
So I had to kind of let go. I had to let go and say, I'm going to do this because I know if I'm happy, people around me are going to be happy. So
Yeah.
I started living with my partner. I started doing art full time to support my family, to figure out ways. I started like teaching kids, you know, I started taking art classes, as you know. That was my
Yeah.
first way of like starting to try and pay my rent. And I
Hmm.
kept painting, and now my work is recognized and stuff. My God, these last 5 years have been crazy, you know. But yeah, so
And it
I feel
shows on
it's
your
just about,
face
yeah, yeah,
completely. Yeah.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
blossomed. Yes. Um,
yeah.
I was about to ask you this question, the next question. Where did you experience the most resistance, inside or outside you? But I almost feel like that's not a relevant question now because what I
It is.
it is? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Because okay, so my reading of it is you were so aligned to who you are internally. Um, so none of these lesser goals existed in your vision, right? You had this highest version of goal that
yeah,
you were aligned to, and none of
yeah.
these clear paths to lesser goals appeal to you, right? Because you were kind of
At that
aligned on
point,
that path.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But
I
yeah, let's
did.
talk about the resistance. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the biggest resistance I feel was from myself,
Okay.
was from inside. Before I decided, before I said, now I'm going to act, I'm going to make that change, was when I was like brave enough and said, whatever happens, I'm going to do this, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to live with a woman. My kids are going to live with me with this woman. We're all going to kind of try and work this out, with my friends and everything. But I feel the biggest barrier was inside me,
Hmm.
because I feel like I had made a prison for myself, from years of wanting to be loved and accepted,
Hmm.
and it comes from like so much conditioning of being for me. I'm saying that is me. Like a lot of people don't care, right? But for me, that was it. I was like a huge people pleaser. I would drop things and run to help out, or run to my mother if she said, "Come, I want this," or whatever. So I
Yeah.
feel like I took myself for granted. And in turn, which is nobody else's fault, they took me for granted because that's the
Hmm.
only way I was understood, So I feel like I had no boundaries growing up. I
Hmm.
think until I was in my 30s, my boundaries of things were very, very, very blurred.
I can relate to that.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So no, and actually, um, when I started, I couldn't even make boundaries. That's the honest thing. I couldn't, because I just wanted to please.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be this nice person, which
Hmm.
really didn't work for me because anyway I was failing at it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you think you're doing things a certain way,
Yeah.
but yeah. So if you're not doing it honestly, if it's not coming from
Yes.
inside, you're not succeeding really.
Yeah.
It's just all kind of on the surface. So I feel like the people who loved me, the people I loved, started seeing this change and they could not take it. So then
That's
first my resistance I was my barrier, my prison. Then I got out of that. Then there's resistance from everywhere because it was like everybody who loves you knows you a certain way. And
Hmm.
then they look at you and they say, oh, you're taking space for yourself. What has happened to you? What
Yeah.
is wrong with you? Are you going through
Hmm.
some phase? Why do you want to spend so much time alone?
Hmm.
Or why have you stopped drinking? Oh my God, you become so boring. Or, oh, so now you're lesbian or whatever, all these
Hmm.
things. Or my mother would say, oh, you're not doing things the right way with your kids. Or,
Hmm.
my ex-husband might cook, everybody, like, they were like, Akka, what has happened to you? You've changed. And I just kept telling myself, don't go back to those old patterns
Yeah.
because yeah. So it's just yeah. So there was resistance from me from everywhere, but yeah,
And I just made this observation, right?
yeah,
Mostly people who are loud outside. By loud, I mean tattoos, telltale signs, right? I mean,
yeah,
a little bit of
yeah,
hippie way of living. The
yeah.
more I feel is a need to be accepted. I mean, on the outside, they project this picture of I'm fierce, I do not care, but
I
inside there
don't
is,
care. Yeah,
yeah, inside there is this need to be accepted. There's need for tenderness, and I see the same in you. I mean, I couldn't have guessed that uh, Nidhi that I know see you as externally, at least. I mean, would be someone who would spend hours and years of life caring about how to please people. But yeah, that is, I think, what we all deal with. Yeah. Okay.
yes,
So the
yeah,
biggest resistance was inside you, and then it also there were ramifications of it even outside in your external world because um, you changed. That constant that was there in their lives is no longer there, and it was hard for them
yeah,
to deal with it. Okay.
yes, yeah,
And I guess what I wanted to ask you next is I mean, I think you've already answered how did you overcome? I think you already answered that. And on this at this point in time, I also wanted you talked about breeding canvas, but you've also done orgasm flowers, which I think is a brilliant project on its own. And any other project that these two and any other project that you would like to talk about a little bit, I thought it would be good space to talk about them now.
yes. So breathing canvas, you've seen you came to the show, I think, or
Yeah,
or
yes,
you
yes.
were not able.
No, 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 I
So
was there. Yes. Hmm.
yes, you were.
Yeah.
So I think with breathing canvas, it was more about finding my power
Hmm.
and saying, which I didn't even know I had that much of, to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to invite women to be a part of this, not models or actors or anything who are comfortable to be naked and painted on and photographed and videoed and stuff. Um, it did start off kind of as an art project. Like I said, I was trying to express myself. I wanted to do something bold and, all
Hmm.
those things. So I invited friends and I said, I want to do this thing. Will you come? And they were so I had friends who were so kind and so trusting to say, okay, come on, let's do this. And they were moms and dancers, and like all of us have. Oh, my cat, sorry, he's
Yeah.
trying to get
One's from this
water.
side, one's from the other side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So basically, I prioritized that project, and I feel I'm so happy that I did because it really turned my life around
Hmm.
360 degrees,
Hmm.
like phew. So the project was about painting on the human body on skin, because I wanted to paint on something living and breathing. And it started off with the first two subjects that I had. I painted and we took beautiful photos. The painting that I did on the body was more like I led the body itself. I got the body to lead me to paint. So it's not like my botanical art, which I usually do. It's just lines and arcs and
Hmm.
dots on the
Hmm.
skin and stuff like that. But what happened was the transforming part of the project was that as I kept doing it, we started sharing, the women and I started sharing our stories because we spent a long period of time together. Like we'll start in the morning,
Hmm.
meet at 8 o'clock, have breakfast together, and they're slowly shedding their clothes. It was so powerful and so beautiful let's start. And some of them will say, I don't think I'm ready to take everything off. So I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
let's start with your face. Just pull your thing down, I'll do your shoulder. And then
Hmm.
after that, it's like, oh, you have to go further, fine. And everyone's like, just taking their
Hmm.
stuff off. And that level of comfort in that space, that personal space that we had, was so beautiful. And then and then and then we started talking about how, as women, because at that point I was painting only on women. We start talking about like our conditioning, how we grew up. Somebody would say, oh, I was always teased because I was dark, or I was always teased because I had curly hair or frizzy hair, or I had a bump on my butt or whatever.
Hmm.
And so we started sharing these stories. So we went through the whole day kind of sharing like happy stuff, and then we're laughing crazily, and then we're crying. And through the whole thing, I'm painting on them. And
Hmm.
then I thought, my God, this is not just an art project, it's
Hmm.
much more than that. And that, I feel like it just became like one long tapestry of all our stories put together, our collective consciousness kind of thing. And it became an empowerment project. It became like an empowerment of women, and an empowerment of like claiming our bodies back and
Hmm.
loving it for what it is, and all that. So yeah, so the final thing where I exhibited and stuff is just to share the work,
Hmm.
but the process of it was everything, because
Hmm.
I've learned so much about the impermanence. We would paint, then we take photos and videos, and then we go and wash it. Right at the
Hmm.
end of the day, we go, and the girls, the women didn't want to wash it off. They're like, "Oh my God, I feel so beautiful!" Like, I don't even feel like I'm not wearing clothes.
Hmm.
And then we're washing off this thing. I'm helping them sometimes wash off their
Hmm.
backs and stuff.
Hmm.
And for me, like for my practice as an artist, it was so it was so beautiful and so powerful to be okay with that, to
Yeah.
wash it off, with
Yeah.
that impermanence, from that nothing lasts forever. I mean,
Hmm.
in different ways,
Hmm.
like what we feel today might not be what we feel tomorrow.
Hmm.
Today I might be
Hmm.
ecstatic talking to you and say, oh, everything's so great, and tomorrow I might feel like shit. And then you work through that, and you work through that. So I feel that that thing of impermanence and sharing space, so many
Hmm.
things came from reading canvas. Yeah.
And is this a project that you will revisit in the future, or
It is an ongoing project, so
okay,
there was no start and end point to it.
okay,
It's been 5 years, and I mean, the main bit happened in 2016, 17. I painted a lot of women, and we archived and documented it. But there have been women who have called me
yeah,
in between and said, so I have a long list actually of
okay,
women and men now who have come forward and volunteered to be a part of it. So it is an ongoing thing. So whenever Padmalata, who takes the
yeah,
photos,
photographs.
when she and I have the time, and the person who wants to get painted has the time, because it's a day, it's like one whole day experience.
Hmm.
We will continue doing it for as long as we can. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do you? I do want to get to a question on what has been your process in through this transformation. But before that, would you also want to talk about any other art project that you think has been significant in your journey?
Yeah. So you were asking about the orgasm
Yes,
flowers, right?
yes.
So that was so beautiful. I've not shown the work anywhere, and all you've seen it. It's on Instagram and stuff. So I think it was like just before lockdown or something, where one day I just sat and I started writing a little poem. I had seen something somewhere else, and I was inspired from that, and I wrote a little writing on what I feel when I experience an orgasm,
Hmm.
in a more poetic way, like not like a direct explanation of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like I think I said warmth, heat
hmm,
goes all
hmm,
over my body, and I feel this and stuff. So I wrote that down. I was very tired that day, and I was meant to work that night because I had like deadlines for the next day or something, but I just couldn't. So I just sat in bed, and I was like, okay, at least I'm painting something. I'm doing something. So I painted a flower depicting my writing,
hmm,
and it was almost like it was like poetry in a way, because I gave an image and color and everything to my words, and also the flower was almost unreal. It wasn't like anything I had seen.
mm-hmm,
It's like I took the words and I put it into this thing. So when I showed it to Bhavna, I said, look, I've done this, you also write me your thing,
hmm,
and I'll paint you a flower. And then she's like, no, no. Anyway, but she did it, and then I
yeah,
painted it for her, and she said, my God, this is so beautiful.
hmm,
I think you should ask people to write into you.
Hmm.
And I was like, who's going to write in already? Like, I already have some friends. I was like, if I say orgasm, they're like, oh my God, how can we talk about our orgasm like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Or period or anything, in the
Hmm.
21st century, still there are, we're still,
Yep.
uncomfortable to talk about those things. So I said, okay, let me try. So I put out on my Insta and stuff. I said, anybody who wants to write to me 2, 3 lines about their experience during orgasm, I'll paint you a flower and send it to you. So then lots of people started writing in. Some men messaged me and said, is this a project only for women because they are flowers? And
Yeah.
then I was like, listen, there's male flowers, there's female flowers, there's non-gendered flowers, there's all that. So why can't it be for men? So I
Hmm.
got beautiful writings. I painted about 30 or 40 flowers for people and just sent it to them. And I feel like it was such a nice feeling of connection during that time when we were not meeting people. And I would send this, and they would send in these beautiful writings, and I would paint
Hmm.
a flower for them and send it back. So I feel it just kind of normalized it in a way, and that it's okay, it's natural. I didn't make a big deal of it. I didn't say orgasm, 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 or any such thing.
Yeah.
So it's nice, it's
It was
natural,
very
it's beautiful.
subtle, and yeah, I
Yeah,
remember those posts here. It was very subtly put and kind of
yeah.
evolved very organically as well.
Yeah, I
The
wasn't trying
entire
to make some
yeah.
statement or
Hmm.
none of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that was, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was beautiful. The whole series was beautiful. I
Thank
want to ask you, sorry, I'll wait for you to say thank you.
you.
I wanted to ask you a question on what has been your process of holding yourself accountable to your uh, inside the person that whom you have met in your moment of clarity. What has been your process of holding yourself accountable to that vision, right? But before that, I guess I wanted to also understand from you, and you can choose in what order you want to answer. Has there been one particular woman who has really inspired you to live this life of clarity and authenticity? And if yes, who and why? And then your process.
Yes, so there are many women. I
Hmm.
feel like when I decided to make these changes with my life, get a divorce, raise my kids on my own, be with a same-sex partner, all those things, I feel like I had to kind of filter out what worked for me and what didn't work for me. So
Hmm.
that was my biggest thing. So with my friends, with my women friends, who are my biggest strength now, and I'm so lucky to have them. Women that I thought, sorry,
Hi.
women that I, women that I thought that I was going to lose, like women that loved me so much, but thought that maybe he's going crazy, you
Hmm.
know, are there for me now. They're all back, thankfully, So I can't pick one, but I would say Bhavna's um, my biggest source of strength because she's really been my champion, my lucky charm. She's almost like my manager when it comes to stuff with work and how she encourages me to put my work out there. I did not have Instagram and all that. I didn't have a page on my Facebook, or I didn't have a website for my work because I didn't even think it was worth it. But she started saying, like, why are you hiding? Why are you hiding stuff? Put your stuff out there. She made me start that Instagram page and say, put these paintings. They're great. They're amazing. So she is my biggest inspiration and strength. And of course, I have like a bunch of women that I live with in my building who've been so supportive and so great. We went through our little turmoil, 5 years ago because my ex-husband and I, we were all common friends. So it was difficult, right? It is difficult for people to take sides or anything. But all I said was, I don't want anyone to take sides. You know, love me a little bit, for what we have, and the rest of it is whatever. It's okay. So yeah, so B is my biggest. But I
Hmm.
do have one more person I want to mention over the last 2 years who's really made an impact on my life. And living healthy was not a thing that I was
Hmm.
that I thought about at all, because till you're 40, you're like, oh, I'm so strong, I'm invincible, nothing can happen to me, right? And then your
Hmm.
body is changing. It is changing
Yeah.
with all the stuff that you've done to yourself and put into your body and everything. Mariam Beg, she's a health coach.
Hmm.
uh, So she has been, I mean, I'm not like, she's not my official health coach or anything, but we've just become friends over the last 2, 3 years, even though she's been in Bangalore for many years, same as me.
Hmm.
So she has been, with my conversations with her, she has been gently pushing me to live better and eat better, in a very subtle way, which I can't even explain, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So now slowly I'm trying to. Like she really helped me with boundaries, with
Hmm.
food, with people, with everything. She used to say she won't even say it to you. She'll just say it in general. You know, we need to cut out people that don't work. We need
Mm-hmm.
to cut out events that don't work. We don't have to say yes to every invitation. We
Hmm.
don't have to be like this to every people that we're not comfortable with. You know,
Hmm.
so yeah, so I feel like watching her, the way she lives her life, she's gone through many struggles as well. But just making boundaries for yourself with lovers, with friends, with food, you know, all that is really, yeah. So she's somebody.
Understanding the context of eliminating and finding you here with me is my moment of privilege, right? So thank you for being choosing to be here today. Um, there was this one moment where it took me to a sad space, and where you mentioned that you have to lose everything at one point in time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are those days?
How were those days?
Yeah.
I felt like I was alone in this,
Hmm.
even though I had so many people. But like I said, I had decided that I'm taking my power back, and
Okay.
that gives you a certain kind of power, and you're
Hmm.
okay to be alone,
Hmm.
and you're okay to follow your path and stay true. I think staying true to yourself, even though we all say I'm staying true to myself, there's a real, you have to be so honest with yourself, no, like truly honest with yourself first before anybody else, to say I believe in what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah.
So what was the question, Kakali? Sorry.
No. So the question was, I
Yeah,
mean, it took me to a sad space when you mentioned that, because I have
yeah,
also gone through a period where I found myself totally alone. And while I
yeah,
didn't understand, I didn't ask you this question, how did you hold yourself together? I think you mentioned it,
yeah,
because your honesty to yourself is was so strong that nothing
yeah,
really mattered. You took power back, gave power back to yourself, and that's all that mattered.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, that's all. I mean, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I sense some sadness there, I sense some a bit of loss there, so just wanted to acknowledge that
It
as
was
well.
immense sadness. Yeah, I mean, but I did realize that I think the basic thing of any life, any human life, is you have to be happy home. Your home has to be happy. And your home starts with yourself, you know. So I knew that if I continue the way I was going, I was going to burn out and die inside. And I feel like it was my survival instinct at some point that said, because I've really messed up, Kapuli. Like, there have been a lot of things. So, a lot of things that have happened through my life. I've really messed up. I've really succeeded, all those things. But yeah, so I needed my home, which is inside me, to be happy first, to be content. Happiness is overrated, but
Hmm.
but yeah, so I feel like it's difficult, no? I feel like people who go through really hard times really come out
Yep.
uh, flourishing, because you know what that sadness and
Hmm.
loneliness and pain is. And when you come out, you're so joyous and happy to even experience that. So yeah, all that sadness, it's still there. I still feel it. I feel it with my family. There's a lot of my family that still are kind of like, oh, what is she now? She's kind of weird. And then I have some part of my family that call me, like cousins and stuff, and say, my God, you're so cool. You're this
Yeah.
amazing. You inspire us, and you're doing your art, and you're making a living.
Yes.
We want to do cool stuff. And so yeah, you just take both sides of it and use it. I feel I've used it in my art as well, you
Hmm.
know, like art imitates life, I feel, for many artists.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um, I wanted to say this, that as you were telling your story, going through your story, I mean, the image that most of us have of you is this, that of a fierce woman, right? I mean, cool, fierce woman. But then there are these other sides of you, struggling with boundaries, struggling with loneliness, sense of loss, and questioning. Uh, when I hear you say all of this, you normalize me feeling those feelings for myself, right? I mean, so I guess I just wanted to say that you opened up space for me to feel messy,
Yeah.
struggling with so many things at the same time. And I hope this will do for many women who or men listening into your
Yes,
story
yes.
as well. Yeah.
I really hope so too, because I do know people, I do have friends who are not okay to say they're not okay, or,
Hmm.
that life's not okay. It's like, and this whole social media thing that we have, right? Where everybody looks so happy, you're portraying and projecting this life that you have and stuff like that. So I have friends who are going through so much in their
Yeah.
life, who won't say things are not okay, who won't get help. And I feel it's really important to get that help. Pick one person. I'm not saying pick 20 people and go talk to everybody about your problems, because that's not going to solve anything.
Hmm.
Or getting advice from, that is one more thing I want to say, like for younger people, like when you're trying to find a path for yourself, if you're trying to go off the beaten path, with a career or with love or marriage or whatever it is, you'll get some thousands of advice, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like advice comes from people where they are projecting their own,
Needs
um
and yeah,
yeah.
own
So
stories. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So you really have to recognize the quiet advice that you
Hmm.
get from two people that you will feel that everybody means well.
Hmm.
Everybody means well, but
From their own
you
space.
from their own space. So to always remember that everyone's advice is coming from their own space, and
Hmm.
you have to go with what feels right for you. And
Hmm.
that is a hard. It's not easy. It's
Yeah.
not easy because you have to be honest, with yourself, and
Hmm.
that takes so much work.
Yeah.
I know these things, like.
Yes, I mean, it takes a lot of work, and you have, I mean, looking at you, I get this idea, the amount of work that you have put in on yourself to stay honest to yourself. First of all, even to have that um, honest vision of yourself in that moment of clarity, and then staying honest is also a work in progress, right? That's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, I I wanted to wrap this conversation at some point, but I can go on and on, of course. There is one thing that you said, I think, way back in 2019, which has stayed on with me forever, and that has been my guiding principle every time I undermine myself. And I will say that statement to you. I think it was that has been your contribution to my life, right? So think of yourself as the person, as an assistant employed by the brand Kakoli, and 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 root for yourself, right? So I've gone
Yes.
through my own struggles, and this has been my and there are so many people to doubt you anyway all the time. But this has been one sentence that echoes in my head, and I pull myself back together almost immediately. So I wanted to thank you for making that contribution to my life. And on that note, I also wanted to ask you, so what is Nidhi's favorite quote on her vision board? So what does it sound like?
I wanted to research this before we did this talk, actually, but I didn't have the time.
Mhm.
So,
That's
but
okay. You can repeat.
yeah, yeah. No, I do have a quote, but I was
Yeah,
like, who is it written by? That I don't know.
that's
But
okay.
when I was in school and I was walking through, we went to like St. Joseph's School or St. Germain's or one of these boys' schools where we went for some inter-school fest. And we were walking through the hall next to the principal's office. And I think I was in sixth standard. So I
Hmm.
was probably 11. And I saw a handwritten note stuck up on the pin-up board on the bulletin board in the school, and it said, "Dreams do come true.
Hmm.
Otherwise, nature would not incite us to have them."
Oh, wow.
Okay, and it was written in a handwritten thing, and even the author of the quote was there, but I don't remember it. And that stuck with me,
Hmm.
from 11 years old. in some way just stuck with me forever. And yeah, so that would be my quote. I don't have a vision board, but yeah, that's there in my head.
Because you manifested your vision, I think, Nidhi. That's why you don't have a
Yes.
vision board. Yeah, your life
Yeah.
is a vision board. Yes. Yeah, dreams do come true. And it was, I mean, when I first, I mean, I think I saw you like many years ago, and then I also thought, oh my, look at this woman, so fierce, so creative. One day I would like to be like her, and here I am finding myself in this space with you and delving into your story. Thank you for sharing with so much openness and vulnerability, and I hope really this opens up space for so many more human beings out there to live their fuller life.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Kapili. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. I shall see you soon then.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Nidhi. Bye. Bye.
Bye.